Today we'll be discussing Sly Stone's polycultural soundtrack toward a politics beyond white supremacy and sexism. In June 2025, the world lost Sly Stone, an artist who did more than help shape modern popular music. As a visionary band leader, producer, and cultural icon, Stone transformed our understanding of sound, identity, and belonging. His groundbreaking fusion of funk, soul, rock, and psychedelia challenged racial boundaries. It redefined gender norms, offering a polycultural soundtrack that still resonates with the struggles and hopes of a diverse society. Sly Stone did not simply revolutionize music, he modeled an alternative social order. As the eccentric genius behind Sly and the Family Stone, Stone created a sound that wove together a variety of different musics into a tapestry so fresh and cohesive that it could not be reduced to any single genre or identity. The band he formed, a multi-racial, mixed-gendered ensemble, was not just a creative decision, but a political one. In the shadow of the 1960s civil rights uprisings and amid intensifying backlash, Stone's art announced a new vision for living, polycultural, improvisational, boundary breaking. This essay argues that Sly Stone's musical legacy provides not just an aesthetic breakthrough, but also a framework for organizing a polycultural politics, one that defies the logic of white supremacy and patriarchy. Through the biography of Stone, we can discern the building blocks of a political future that embraces complexity, multiplicity, and a collective creativity.
Hi, you're in class with Dr. T.
Born Sylvester Stewart in 1943 in Denton, Texas, and raised in a Pentecostal church in Vallejo, California, Sly Stone grew up immersed in the spiritual and emotional energies of Black gospel music. But from a young age, he refused to stay confined to the musical box that upbringing offered. As a child prodigy who could master multiple instruments, Stone played in several gospel groups in the church scene, did doo-wop with a variety of groups, and integrated bands in a time when his town was decisively racially divided. He also became a DJ and played all kinds of music, rock and roll, gospel, Bob Dylan, the Beatles. Even then, Stone displayed what cultural theorist Vijay Prashad would call a polycultural effort. Not multiculturalism in the corporate, fragmented sense, but the organic interpretation of cultures that resist ideas of purity and embrace culture as a syncretic way. Stone refused to accept that a Black musician should only play quote unquote pure Black music, whatever that may be, or that Black radio should only play quote unquote Black artists. Instead, he collapsed genres and racial boundaries by insisting that soul could groove with psychedelia, that gospel harmony could share space with hard funk and wah-wah pedals. This was not a simulation, it was reimagination. When Sly and the Family Stone came together in 1967, it was a quiet act of revolution. The band included men and women, Black and white musicians, and family members, all making decisions collaboratively under his leadership, no doubt. Their music promoted messages of togetherness, but not necessarily without naivete. Everyday People, for example, was a catchy anthem But it also named the absurd divisions that kept people apart, with lyrics like, "The long hair doesn't like the short one," or "There's a yellow one that won't accept the black one," or "The red one that won't accept the white one." The politics of the Family Stone were not in party politics, but in the very form of the band and sound. Each song was arranged like a polyphonic democracy. Each voice mattered. The bass lines of Larry Graham, the trumpet of Cynthia Robinson, the keyboards of Rose Stone, and the Sly's own spectral presence on organ and vocals created sonic architects that modeled a horizontal structure of power. At a time when both the civil rights movement and the counterculture were often led by patriarchal and masculinist figures, Sly Stone's band rehearsed another world. The music was not escapism. It was fun, but there were also albums like There's a Riot Going On, which had tones of despair and distortion, the shattering of the 1960 dreams. And that album didn't have the same kind of fun spirit of the earlier ones. As the backlash happened after the civil rights movement and the streets burned in major cities and the FBI surveilled Black freedom movements, Stone offered a different kind of protest, unsettling, unresolved, and introspective. By the mid-1970s, Stone's musical brilliance increasingly gave way, unfortunately, to addiction, paranoia, and isolation. He missed concerts, alienated bandmates, and eventually receded from the spotlight altogether. Yet, even in retreat, he remained a figure of myth and influence. He recorded with a drum machine before most people even knew such an instrument existed. Before most mainstream artists would wear outrageous fashion that redefined stage presence and continued to inspire artists, whether it was Prince or Outkast or Questlove. In his reclusive lifestyle, he lived in an RV by choice. He rejected the demands of capitalist fame and artistic exploitation. That refusal, difficult and chaotic, though it may have appeared not so, it was also political. Stone said, "I just want to play my songs." That sentiment, often dismissive as evasive, is in fact a radical claim for autonomy in a world where Black genius is constantly mined, extracted, and commodified for profit. Sly Stone's life is not just a story of musical greatness or personal tragedy. It is a metaphor for what a just society could sound like, right, if his songs were polycultural experiments. His band was a prototype for polycultural governments. The music was, and this is what the music can represent for us. It was collaborative, improvisational, never linear. It gave voice to the marginalized without turning their pain into a spectacle. It rejected purity, racial, gendered, or aesthetic in favor of hybrid vigor. It wanted us to explore our multiple identities and not deny them, but for us to tell the truth. In a political landscape dominated by ideas of white supremacy, xenophobia, and patriarchy, what would it mean to organize like Sly arranged music, reject siloed identities? Stone's music refused the thick boundaries of genre or race. A polycultural politics must similarly resist identitarian reductionism, instead building solidarity across differences without flattening them. Center collective genius, just as the Family Stone song was carried by not a single instrument. No politics can be driven solely by charismatic leaders. Polyphony must replace hierarchy, honor complexity and contradictions. Songs like If You Want Me to Stay captured the ambivalence of freedom, love, and autonomy. A new politics must embrace, not fear, ambiguity in internal debate. Prioritize joy. In embodiment, Sly's music was deeply political, but also profoundly joyful. Organizing for justice need not only dwell in grievance, it must also create spaces to dance, sing, and feel fully alive. In conclusion, Sly never ran for office, led a movement, or wrote a manifesto, but through sound, stage, and spirit, he articulated a vision of radical possibility. His music modeled how we might inhabit the world, not as isolated individuals, but as co-creators in an ever-shifting ensemble. In our time of polarization and renewed authoritative type society, his legacy offers not a nostalgic throwback, but a blueprint of cross-racial kinship, gender collaboration, improvisational leadership, and refusal to conform. As Stone once wrote, everybody is a star. That wasn't just a feel-good sentiment, it was a political statement in a new polycultural politics. Every voice must count, the beat must be shared, and the goal is not power over others, but power with others. Let us follow his musical tradition and draw inspiration for creating a movement of polyculturalism. Thank you. Please like, please share, please subscribe, and smash that bell